You want me to start talking? Okay. Good evening, everybody. I am your host, Camden Hampshire, and you are watching the WatchTower. We are very new to this live streaming thing, so we are just going to test it to make sure we are live, we are working, and I just got to go that we are good. Good? Okay, cool. Real quick, make some changes. Link on story. Okay. Good? Okay. We are good. How's it going, everybody? My name is Camden Hampshire, and you are watching the WatchTower. I wanted to kind of go from recording and editing to just saying, fuck it, we're going to do it live. We're going to do it live. Today, we are talking about very important breaking news that just came out today, and that is the fact that President Donald Trump, is halting third world migration because of the recent National Guard shooting. Now, you might be asking, what is the National Guard shooting? And I'm just going to give you a little bit of background of what it is, what exactly happened, and we're going to kind of go from there. And then we're going to kind of segue into mass migration and immigration into the United States, how it has changed from the Biden administration now to the Trump administration, putting on a lot of restraints and blockage on southern borders. And we're going to kind of get into the whole idea of growing socialist ideas in America when we live in a capitalist society, with Zohran Mamdani becoming mayor of New York. Should I post? Okay. 1 second. Gonna post. Gotta post. It is okay. We'll be good. One second. What about I'm not able to watch. Shit. I just want to be sure if I link it. Okay, give me a second. I want you to try this out. The thing is, it's gonna upload to my story, and then just click it and see if that helps or that works. Okay, it just uploaded. Click that link, see if it works.
I don't know if you want to do it for Rumble too. You probably should add it too on there.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let me delete that one real quick then. No, actually, I'll just add Rumble. This computer's fucking about to blow up. Dude. Okay, I gotta get rid of this fucking computer from the desk.
Oh, it's yours?
Yeah, dude. It's gonna fucking sounds like a jet engine. It's gonna explode.
I was like, there's no way that's wrong.
Okay. Did that... See if that YouTube one worked, though. No, it is yours.
Yeah, it is mine.
Oh, shit.
Going in overtime mode, I guess.
Is it going to blow up? Is that going to be a
It's just
problem with noise?
because it's dual streaming, so it's
Oh, okay. Check
It'll be fine.
check that and see if that one works. Okay, well the Rumble one's working great.
I'm only seeing the YouTube story.
Did the YouTube one work?
There it goes. Yeah, it's working.
It is?
Yeah, the Rumble one didn't upload.
On my story?
Yeah.
It's uploading right now. I just did it.
Oh, there it goes. Yeah, you're good. All right, yeah,
Okay.
you can continue. Sorry.
All right. We're good. So, today, we're going to be talking about Trump halting third world migration because of the National Guard shooting. Now, you might be wondering, what happened in the National Guard shooting? So, 6 days ago, a Afghani migrant killed one, shot two National Guards, killed one. The other one is in the hospital with serious injuries. I'm just going to read a brief description of what happened and then kind of go from there. So, a National Guard member remains in critical condition at a D.C. hospital on Friday after a gunman shot him and a fellow Guard member in an ambush in downtown D.C. on Wednesday. Authorities say Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died on Thanksgiving at age 20. Rest in peace. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24, is, quote, fighting for his life, according to President Donald Trump, said on a Thanksgiving call with U.S. troops. He announced that Beckstrom has died of her injuries. She is no longer with us. Quote, she is no longer with us. She's looking down on us right now. Her parents are with her, Trump said. Troops and first responders lined up outside MedStar Washington Hospital Center on Thanksgiving night to honor Beckstrom as her body was transported. The mood there was still somber early Friday. You might be asking, who would do something like this? What happened? And a lot of Americans are asking the same questions. I have that information right here. Now, mind you, these are not biased opinions. I am just giving you information for you to formulate opinion for yourself. Okay? Name: Ramanullah Lankenwall. Hopefully I pronounced that right. 29 years old. Picture of him right here. Let's see. That is him. That's him. Try and guess what race he is. Anyways. Nationality, background. He's an Afghan national from Coast Province of Pashtun background, whatever that means. Now, on September 8th, 2021, he enters the United States under the program known as Operations Allies Welcome. That is a funded third-party organization that brings in migrants from different countries who help out U.S. troops in other countries, basically, to sum it all up. The U.S. effort to resettle Afghans after the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, he applied for asylum in 2024. His asylum was granted in April 2025. So he has been here for 4 years now. Now, he has military ties. According to official statements and reporting, Wall previously worked for an Afghan unit backed by the CIA. So-called Zero Unit during the war in Afghanistan. How convenient is it that an Afghan native comes into the U.S., has CIA operative ties because he somehow worked with U.S. troops. There's no report of what he did, who he helped, or anything. Nothing. Nobody knows. Everyone just says, oh, the administrations and news networks are saying, oh, you know, he was just a CIA operative. No big deal, right? Yeah. According to community and media sources, after arriving in the United States in 2021, Wall reportedly struggled with mental health issues, social isolation, and periods of instability and erratic behavior. The question you might be asking is, okay, so he comes into the U.S., these third-party, mind you, these third-party organizations get paid to bring in migrants on a special type of visa. This is not some illegal Mexican immigrant coming into the U.S., swimming across the border, jumping the wall. No, this is a legal transaction between a third-party organization and, I guess, United States troops, United States Special Forces, whoever gives the green light to these third-party organizations to bring in these migrants. I guess the top authoritarian person of this would be the President of the United States. Now, my question is, okay, he has erratic behavior, he has social anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, all these things. And it says, it's confirmed that he has CIA ties. Now, why did he have CIA ties? Was he still working with the CIA even after he had these sort of erratic, suicidal behaviors? That's the real question that I think a lot of people want answers. But guess what? None of it's going to get answered. Is this some type of... Now, this is just public information. This is not something that I'm just formulating an opinion on. This is public knowledge. This just came out, and this is public information that you can look up on the web right now. But these are questions that everyone wants to know. Now, let's move on. After the shooting, he was taken into custody. He was wounded during the confrontation, but reportedly survived. Law enforcement was able to subdue and detain him. Charges. And I think I read today that he is going to get charged with first-degree murder because of Beckstrom dying at the young age of 20. As of the latest reports, he faced multiple charges, including assault with a deadly weapon, firearm possession during a violent crime, and prosecutors have said they will also bring a first-degree murder charge if a critically wounded guard member does not survive. So, he is possibly facing 2 counts of first-degree murder. Government characterization officials, including the U.S. Attorney and others, have described the shooting as a targeted act, and the investigation is being treated as a potential act of terrorism. Now, I think a lot of people would be asking, okay, why do they let these people into the country in the first place? You have these third-party programs that feel bad for these people in these third world countries and say, hey, you know what? You helped out U.S. troops a little bit. Let's go ahead and give you a special visa. Let's give you asylum. You can stay in the U.S. no matter what. We're going to help you. Taxes? You don't have to pay taxes. You can live for free. Free housing. Free health care. Because guess what? We're getting paid. We're getting paid to bring you over the border legally. We're legal coyotes. A little bit about the people. Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old, in the West Virginia Army National Guard. She joined in June 2023. She was fatally wounded in the attack. She died later in the hospital. 20 years old. She probably served 2 years. Since 18. Now, a National Guard facility like that, you don't have a lot of action. And that's why it was not. Was it heavily guarded? Was it not? Probably was. But nobody expects something like that to happen. Why? Because nobody expects an American citizen to act like that. Mind you, there are people who have had eradicated behavior in the past and done acts of terrorism like that. But this is an act of terrorism. When you have a migrant coming into this country, and I don't know about I know his ethnic background, Afghani, whatever, probably Muslim, comes into this country with a motive. Now, there is no reports of interviewing the guy. You know, he's obviously alive. Maybe not for long. Who knows? What if his motive is something that United States officials, CIA, Secret Service, whatever organization of public safety, public defense, whatever they don't want you to know, they're not going to put out to the public. In the news, media organizations, they're not going to get it published. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24 years old, in the West Virginia National Guard, assigned to the 4 Support Squadron, 167 Airlift Wing, Air Guard. He was critically injured. As the last reports, he remains hospitalized and in very serious condition. Officials have described both as young, recently deployed, and on patrol duty in Washington, D.C. at the time of the shooting. Now, a little bit about OAW, Operation Allies Welcome, was a U.S. government-led program launched in August of 2021 to resettle vulnerable Afghan nationals, especially those who had assisted U.S. forces or otherwise faced risk under Taliban rule. Interesting. Lincoln Wall was released into the U.S. under Biden administration, obviously, along with 90. Now, you might be saying, oh, okay, well, America is a country where the land of opportunity, capitalism, blah, 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 blah. But the real question is, who are those 90,000 people? What are their names? Where do they live? What do they do? What kind of job do they have? Are they receiving government assistance? Did they get paid to come here? Did they not get paid? Do they have a criminal record? What type of religious background do they have? Because America is, for now, essentially a Christian-backed nation. Nobody knows anything about these 90,000 people. People know about this Lincoln Wall guy now because he decided to jump out in the spotlight and try and kill 2 Army National Guards. But the other 89,999, nobody knows anything about them. They're roaming the streets. Who are they? If you were to go to, no matter what country they are from, first world country, third world country, crap countries, Really good countries, no matter where they come from. Do you really think if you, as an American citizen, were to go to their country, they wouldn't know anything about you? What about when you go to Mexico? You don't think the cartels are keeping tabs on everybody that comes in? Now, Operation Allies Welcome is not just the one third-party organization that brings in these migrants from other countries into the United States just because they helped out in some pointless war where 2 million people died, 1 million Iraqis died, hundreds of thousands of U.S. troops died because of a false flag, because of weapons of mass destruction narrated by the prime minister of a certain country. Not going to say what country it is, but prime minister of certain country. Anyways, OAW is not the only one. I will read off just a couple of them. HIAS, historically provided aid to Jewish immigrants. Now resettles refugees of many backgrounds in the U.S., providing them housing, legal aid, cultural integration, and basic support. Church World Service, one of the national VOLOG agencies, works on refugee resettlement, placement, and integration services in partnership with government refugee programs. Episcopal migration ministries, faith-based agencies helping resettle refugees, providing services like housing placement, English classes, medical, health coordination, community integration. International Rescue Committee, U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, World Relief, Ethiopian Community Development Council. These are all some of the few, these are the few of many third-party organizations that completely go away from illegal immigration, and they are not affected by the closing of the southern border. They can still bring people in. They're not affected by the less migrants that you have seen from the Trump administration compared to Biden when he was in office 4 years ago. Or I'm sorry, since 4 years ago up until last year. For each refugee admitted, resettlement agencies receive a one-time payment from the State Department to cover reception and placement, housing, basic needs, integration for the first 90 days. That payment has been roughly $2,275 per refugee. The per refugee payment is meant to cover initial costs, housing support. It is not a subsidy to resettle thousands. Agencies must prove they deliver services. These agencies are getting paid to bring in migrants that nobody knows who they are. Why is that? This is the legal way. Think about a coyote from Mexico that smuggles illegal immigrants into the country. Imagine how much they get paid. It's a business. It's a business, and you're not part of it. You're not going to make money. You're just going to sit there and get absolutely nothing. What about the homeless veterans on the street? What about the people that served in the military for 20 years? They come out, they go to the VA office, and they can't get shit. They got their leg blown off in battle. They got their arm messed up. They can't get any medical or housing support. The statistic of veterans, United States military veterans on the street, is outrageous. They receive barely any medical benefits, any housing, any food, nothing. A lot of them are just homeless. While you have people that you don't know about. You don't know their ethnic background. Should their ethnic background even matter? No, but guess what? There's something called pattern recognition. 43% of these legal migrants are from Africa, 28% from the Middle East and South Asia, 13% from East Asia, 11% from Latin America and the Caribbean, 4% from Europe and Central Asia. Now, before President Biden left office, he was trying to push for the refugee cap to go from anywhere from 125,000 to 150,000. That was his goal before he left office. Obviously didn't happen because him or Kamala, and I'm sure Kamala would have probably made it 250,000. We need to let the migrants in. Wherever she comes from, I don't know. According to very credible sources, Trump, come next year, 2026, he wants his yearly cap 7,500. I think that's going to change now because stuff like this, as it should. But even then, when you have all these attacks, you have all these migrants committing crimes, you have all these migrants getting free healthcare, free housing, free this, free that from your tax dollars. And you know nothing about them. No benefits back to you whatsoever. And even in administration, because granted, Biden, he was, throw the border wide open. I want it wide open. Doesn't matter. But even the Trump administration, they're against illegal immigration, hence why the southern border, they're letting nobody come in basically now, I think, hopefully. But they're for migrant immigration. Now, mind you, there is nothing, and these are just statistics. This is proven information. I am not making any of this up. This is something that is a serious problem because you have these people coming into this country, and mind you, the legal system of immigration, illegal or legal or whatever, the whole system needs to change. Because I've heard stories and seen things of people, they come into this country, they work for 10 plus years, they start a family, they work hard, they don't get into trouble, they do everything correctly, get a driver's license, they get a social security card, they get a passport, they get everything. But they're still not a legal United States citizen after 10, 12, 15 years even, and tens of thousands of dollars later. That is something that needs to change, obviously. But you would think that these politicians in America, because the system is so fucked up, they would want to put a halt, just like Trump did, altogether. There needs to be a halt altogether on this system because of how messed up it is. And formulate some type of game plan to be able to make the system work better, and some type of extra program that somebody can come into this country under the conditions that they will provide some type of value to America, to American citizens, and for them, for their families. The Trump administration has halted all asylum decisions following the shooting of the two National Guard soldiers in Washington, D.C. Joseph Edlow said the pause would be in place until we can ensure that every alien is vetted and screened to the maximal degree possible. It came hours after U.S. President Donald Trump pledged to permanently pause migration from all third world countries. The flurry of immigration decisions come in the wake of Wednesday's shooting, which left one soldier dead and another one in critical condition. While the first of these specifically targeted Afghans... Oh, this is according to the BBC. I don't know why the fuck I pulled this article up. According to the BBC, the first of these specifically targeted Afghans... Yeah, can't point the finger of the person that did it. Somebody steals from the cookie jar. You can't point at them. Can't point at them because guess what? That's racist. That's racist. You're a racist if you say that that person that did the shooting did the shooting. Specifically targeted Afghans seeking to enter the U.S., other decisions have been far more wide-reaching. The USCIS, a branch of the Department of Homeland Security, has been told not to approve, deny, or close asylum applications it receives for all nationalities, according to CBS News, the BBC's U.S. partner. Its officers can continue to work on asylum applications and review cases up to the point of making a decision. That's just great. But few details are known about Friday's directive. Okay. And with this, you have, conservatives, the Trump administration, trying to actually come up with a solution, which is good. But then you have these leftists and these progressive leftist socialists saying, you can't racially profile that person. You can't do that. They're a person too. They come into your country. You need to treat them just like you would every American. Unbelievable. It's fueling the fire. Because every migrant family, illegal or legal, that comes into this country, they have the open arms of a hug from Democrats just to get their vote. They don't care about illegal immigration. You think they care about these Mexican families that come in and just, they work in the fields and they want a better life for themselves? They have no criminal history. They're not violent. They want to do everything the correct and legal way. You think they care about those families? Absolutely not. But Americans compared to people from other countries can smell bullshit when it comes to especially Democratic politicians saying that we're going to give free this, free that, these socialist ideas. Because, frankly, there really is no difference between somebody that is a U.S. citizen who grew up in a middle-class family, who gets a job, who has to get that job to save up for a house, who has to get that money and pay for the house, pay for a family, pay to live, pay to eat food, pay to get gas, pay to have groceries, pay to go on vacation. There's no difference between that American and somebody that comes into this country with open arms, gets free stuff, and wants to do it the legal way. But guess what? Democratic politicians don't care about that. Why? Because they know, as an American, the middle class is the backbone of American society. So the middle class is the only class that is going to smell bullshit. Migrants and poor people of this country are the ones that are going to accept the free stuff from these Democratic politicians. Because they don't know no better. But it is statistically proven that as these families grow, as they get legal sovereignty of this country, legal citizenship, they start to work, they even form a business, or they get a high position in a company. They start to make all this money. They start to smell the BS. They start to smell the BS of these Democratic politicians, and a lot of them vote red. A lot of them vote red. Why? Because this is a capitalist society. Once they start making the money, they don't want it to get taken away from them. They don't want 45% tax rate. The rise of socialism in America, with examples like Mamdani coming into New York, and this is, I don't live in New York, but this is only the beginning. This was New York's first time electing a socialist mayor. And he's already trying to implement these socialist ideas and rules like he's state governor. He has these protests against wealthy people. He says, oh, if a landlord doesn't, if a business owner has a business in New York and can't pay these specific fines that we're just going to throw at you after a certain period of time, the state of New York is going to just take away your business. That is communist. That is not capitalism. That is communism. Nobody knows the difference between socialism, because socialism is communism. Socialism is the little baby to the big daddy communism started by Karl Marx. Let's see. Let's go over to the whiteboard, shall we? Or the chalkboard. Chalkboard. Very simple to understand. Okay, so you have stick guy here. Stick guy here. This guy's got money. This guy's got money. Everyone's happy. This is capitalism. This guy got money. This guy got money. Everyone's happy. Whether boss, because this could be the boss, and this could be the employee. They're both getting money. They're both making their money work for them. They're able to invest. They're able to buy businesses, buy houses, buy investments, buy assets, not liabilities. Everyone's happy. That is according to capitalists of how capitalism works. Now, capitalism, according to socialists, looks like this. You have little guy right here. Little Johnny, LJ, little Johnny. And he has nothing. But you have big Johnny. He's got the money. And he says, screw you. Screw you to the little guy. That is capitalism described by socialists. You have two guys making their money work for themselves. And it doesn't matter whether or not the boss is making more than the employee. That's how capitalism works. The boss of the company, the owner of the company, is the one that's going to make more than the employee. But as long as the employee is happy, as long as the employee is making money, he does not give one shit. Capitalism, described by socialists, says the big guy doesn't care about you. You're the little guy. The big guy is going to just pull the rug under from your feet and you're going to get screwed. Now, mind you, there are people in America that claim to be capitalists, but they do socialist shit. Not saying that's not true. There's always a bad apple in the bunch. So that's that. Socialism, described by capitalists, is you have one guy, two guy, three guy. And guess what they all have? They all have the same exact pile of money. Let's say $1 million. 1 million, 1 million, 1 million. $1 million. They all got $1 million. Guess what? It doesn't matter if this guy works 140 hours a week and this guy works 2 hours a week. They both have the same pile of cash. Why? Because it's equal. Because they want to be equal. It doesn't matter if this guy busted his ass, got dirty, made all the risks for his family, did everything. It doesn't matter. Everyone needs to be treated equal. That is socialism described by socialists. And socialism described by capitalists is, you have one guy and, he has the money, and you have the big boss, Big Johnny. He says, "Oh, you're done, bud." Takes that shit away, wipes him out. Because the big guy always wins. That is socialism described by capitalists. Now, after World War I, and, after World War I, well, actually before that, the Industrial Revolution, you saw the first socialist state, which later became USSR, a communist nation. Socialist or communist governments later appeared in China, Cuba, Eastern Europe, Vietnam, and others. A study by the National Bureau of Economic Research did a study on the United States top 400 richest households and found that they pay an average of 24% of taxes, which includes everything from wages, business profits, and capital gains. That means if they sell a property, if they sell a business, if they sell any sort of asset whatsoever, they've paid statistically 24% across the board. That is the United States top 400 richest families, households. Now, when it comes to your average Joe Blow middle class worker, on average in America, they pay 45%. 40%, somewhere around there. Now, from a socialist perspective, you might say, okay, you have the top 400 richest households in America paying only 24% across the board. Because mind you, these middle class people, they don't have capital gains. They can't even they can't even afford a house. You have to have, especially in a state like California, you have to have two incomes, $100,000 to pay for an average $400,000 house that is built crappy, and the interest rates are outrageously high. Your monthly payment is going to be ridiculous. And, Yeah, so to a socialist, they say, okay, well, you know what? These top 400 people are paying 24% while the middle class is paying 45%. Why don't we just up the taxes on the richest families, on the richest households? Now, this is on the of the understanding that they make like I think it's like $550,000 or more would be considered the top 0.002%, or maybe even $1 million. I'm not sure. But from a capitalist perspective, somebody like that who got that position in the first place to become a millionaire, to make $1 million a year, to be in a position, because a large percentage of those people have gained that money from starting a business or climbing the economic and corporate ladder to be able to have that lifestyle and make that money. You would think, okay, we're just going to tax them, right? We're just going to tax the top 400 households. Because these wealthy families and these billionaires are still in America for one reason. Because they can manipulate the taxes, and they can go through the loopholes. That is essentially why they're still here. Why do you think billionaires stay billionaires? Because they use tax loopholes. Now, mind you, billionaires still pay some of the highest taxes in America, but they still have to have some leeway. They still have to pay. They still have to get some sort of breathing room. You don't want to make $1 billion in 1 year and get $1 billion taken away from you, because that's the socialist idea. Bleed these billionaires dry until they can't afford it. Bleed these wealthy families dry. But there's one issue with that. Because what happens when you tax these people to death? They're going to leave. They're going to leave a state like California. They're going to leave a state like Texas, New York, whatever. They're going to leave the United States. And what happens when you have a state like California where all the billionaires moved out? Where are they going to go? Where are these state officials or the federal government or the state legislators or whoever makes these tax laws and taxes you, and the IRS, and who are they going to target? They're going to target middle class. And guess what? That 45%, it's going to go up to 60. It's going to be like France. It's going to be like England, where it's 70%, 60%. Over half of your income is going to the IRS, is going to state and federal taxes. That is the issue. These millionaire, billionaire, wealthy families, they are not dumb. They are just going to manipulate the system and move somewhere where the tax code gives them more of a break. They're going to have offshore accounts in Puerto Rico, in freaking Venezuela, or Saudi Arabia, where there's no where there's no state tax, where there's no capital gains tax, where there's no sales tax. There's nothing. Why do you think all these rich Saudi sheikhs live in Saudi? Granted, the other side of that place is a shithole, but hey, they already closed the gap on wealthy and poor. There is no middle class in that country. There's wealthy, and then there's poor. And guess what? Like I said, since the middle class is the backbone of America, by closing that gap and closing the wealth gap between, or opening it up, whatever you want to say, to eradicate the middle class, it's going to be detrimental to American society. Middle class people, they have issues, just like everyone does. Consumerism, cars, clothes, debt. They're formulated and they're made up of consumerism, which is an issue. But they're the ones that work the most. And who are their bosses? Are the top 1%, the wealthy. And that is the whole idea, this whole central idea of socialism is get the middle class, the poor, and the rich and make them all into one. They want to give you free healthcare, free education, free housing, free everything, with the exchange of your personal freedom. Socialism, statistically, historically, has never lasted as long as capitalism. USSR Russia, North Korea, all these socialist, communist, basically third world countries where you have big boss and you have little boss. They give you more benefits than we would in a capitalist society like America, with the idea of stripping away your freedom. In these bigger cities in America, you're going to have more free-thinking ideas because according to Cato Institute in partnership with YouGov, 62% of Americans aged 18 to 29 have a favorable view of socialism. Just like, yeah, I don't know. Favorable view of socialism. And most of these people that preach the idea of socialism are LGBTQIA alphabet soup plus and daughters and sons of illegal migrants that come into this country. That's really what make up a lot of socialists. And why though? Why? Because somebody like Bernie Sanders, when he was running for president in 2016, 2015, said, we need free college. We need free healthcare. Free. And we're going to tax it all on the billionaires. We're going to run these billionaires dry. Billionaires are not that dumb. They're going to find some loophole, some tax code to be able to go completely away from it. And not even pay nothing. Most wealthy people in America pay, the statistics show, a lot less than middle class. Now, young people are fucking dumb. Most young people, Gen Z, I'm 24. People my age are fucking stupid. They look at it and they say, oh, free college. Yeah. I want free college. I want free housing. I don't want to work. I don't want to work at Starbucks. I don't want to mix a pinkety drinky. I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to make cake pops. I don't want to work at McDonald's. I don't want to do any of that. I just want my free government assistance, and I just want to buy clothes all day and buy iPhones and buy everything. Even though I complain about capitalism, I involve myself and I volunteer and I do everything for capitalism on a day-to-day basis. Nobody talks about this. All these socialists on social media, they're filming it. Yeah, what's up, guys? You know, social media and socialism is like the new wave. Yet they're filming it from an iPhone, and how much did it cost for the iPhone to make? Maybe like $2 in a third world country somewhere in Asia, where a Chinese kid is getting whipped every day because he's not making enough fucking iPhones. Where does the lithium come from? From inside this fucking thing. It comes from the Congo of Africa. You got these black women with their childs on their shoulders, like mining, destroying these mountaintops to get this little piece of lithium to charge everything that's electronic, to power everything that's electronic. These clothes, these iPhones, like everything is capitalism, because they have a boss, and the boss makes more than them. But guess what? Maybe that little African kid in the Congo, maybe he's making a good living. Is the idea of the living very good? Probably not, but hey, I don't live there. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like, let's be real, man. Most young people are dumb. And the more that gets accepted into the media and social media about socialism and how it's so cool, and it's never going to work. It's never going to work, because people are not only greedy, but people take advantage of systems. I read a statistic that the average SNAP benefit, the average EBT SNAP benefit person is 5'5" and 180 pounds. In other words, fat. So, I mean, you mean to tell me that these people are starving because they don't know how to breed correctly, and they don't know how to understand that if they have a child, they're going to have to get a job and take care of that child? No. $4,300 a month I saw that one lady was bringing home for 4 kids. $4,300 a month. They don't do it like they used to. Back in the old days, you used to go to the food pantry, and if you had EBT, they'd give you a thing of milk, a block of cheese, some bread, some other food condiments, and said, go ahead, cook for it yourself. They don't do that no more. I seen something like these people that were receiving SNAP benefits, they're buying food from the grocery store, they're taking the ingredients of the foods, and they're selling plates of food to people on the internet. That is insane. That is capitalism at its finest. Dude, it's insane. We live in a crazy world, man. I don't know. I don't think, and I frankly, I don't know why Zoran, what's his name? Zoran Mamdani, whatever. I don't know why he met with Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is like a super big New York guy. And I'm not sure, like, I don't even think Trump likes Mamdani, but probably for good PR, he met with him. I don't think he's going to last. I mean, obviously he's going to serve his term, but I think he's going to really disappoint a lot of people, because I don't even think he's socialist himself, because you have all these politicians in office, in the cabinets, in selected officials, state representatives, whatever, the House, the Senate. Like, you have all these, and frankly, a lot of them are just left-wing, they're Democratic, whatever. They preach the idea of giving free shit away and against capitalism, against the big guy, yet they come into office with $150,000 a year salary, yet, 3 years later, they have an $8 million net worth because of probably insider trading. So, I mean, like AOC, she has a crazy high net worth. What's her name? Nancy Pelosi, crazy high net worth. She was caught trading multiple times, like insider trading, like it's just, it's so ass backwards that it's just like a freak show. It's a clown show. You don't have anybody in office anymore that's for the middle class people. And I hate to burst conservatives' bubble, but like, yeah, Donald Trump is going to say for good PR that he cares about middle class. But at the end of the day, it's almost like Donald Trump talking about middle class is like an NFL star talking about Black Lives Matter. A multi-millionaire NFL running back saying that grew up in a nice white suburban neighborhood in Ohio. He went to a private high school, a good college, got a full ride scholarship, and went straight to the NFL or the NBA. He's going to talk about the black struggle. Like, nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares about your opinion on that. You don't know anything. So, yeah, I mean, it's like Donald Trump is a billionaire. He's going to do everything in his power to protect his wealth and protect his administration, which as he should. Why? Because it's a capitalist society. What is the solution for that? Everyone says socialist. Oh, it's not fair. It's not fair that Donald Trump is a billionaire. Even though, maybe he got a small loan of $1 million, but he turned that million into 50 million, 500 million. And then he turned that 500 million into 3 billion, and then 3 billion into whatever his net worth is nowadays, 10 billion, whatever. It's not fair. I'm working at Starbucks 8 hours a week. I deserve to be a billionaire too. No, you don't. So, how long have we been going now? It's been a minute. Hour? Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I wanted to get on here and talk about today, is the idea that the rise of socialism comes from the backing of migrants, quite frankly, because you have migrants that come into this country, and these socialists, they don't care that these immigrants and migrants are getting free everything. They're just too focused on the billionaires, when in reality they should be focused on the migrants. Because at the end of the day, to sum it all up, you don't know who comes into this country. And at the end of the day, like, here's the question. Is it worth it to save the country that we grew up in? Is it worth it to save the political and religious views of this country, because this country is a majority Christian nation. 67% of the United States claim to be Christian, of Americans claim to be Christian. Or do you want Muslims lining up and praying in the streets of Dearborn, Michigan? Granted, the United States is, constitutionally, you are able to do that. Freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of speech. Yes, but there needs to be a line. There needs to be a line drawn. This is a Christian nation. Do you really think Saudi Arabia would let 50 million Christians come into their cities and start putting up crosses and start saying the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, Catholics and Christians? You really think, and throwing holy water on people and doing all these things, do you really think Saudis would be acceptable of that? Or would they probably chop your fucking hands off? They don't believe in Jesus Christ. They believe he was a prophet. Do they believe that he was God? No. Jews don't believe in Jesus Christ either. They believe that he's burning in hell. Judeo-Christian. That word is so funny. Judeo-Christian. That's hilarious. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got for today. We're going to be doing a lot more live streams. Political, cultural, whatever's going on and whatever's happening in the United States, foreign nations, foreign policies, going to get into all of it. And I want people's opinions on what they feel about these certain topics. You know, you can argue all you want in the comments. Now, mind you, at the end of the day, this is just all public information. I am formulating somewhat of an opinion on this, but I am just formulating an opinion on something that is public information. So, let me know in the comments what you think about these types of videos, these topics, socialism, capitalism, the National Guard shooting, what happens next? What can we do to prevent things like this from happening? And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm your host, Camden Hampshire, and I'll see you next time.